able to find any more answers since post-match on what happened on Saturday night?
I think we spent you process it on the Sunday and then you head into solution mode, and part of that's been giving the players a couple of days away and trying to freshen them up physically and mentally, and making sure that they're in a good space to reset for this week. That's the most important thing.
Have you been able to nail down on whether it might be physical or mental, or a combination of both in terms of the performance?
I think that, and I'll say it, and I've said it a number of times, there's never one thing. And so it's always a combination of a number of things. We were considering giving them a couple of days away, and on the back-to-back 6-day breaks at this point in the year anyway, at the back end of the year, we sort of absolutely felt like that immediately after the game, had that confirmed that we needed to give them a couple of days away and just recover physically and mentally, and freshen up, and then come in and have a short, sharp training session tomorrow, and really get into Collingwood from that perspective.
How much of it might be that the players have hit a wall physically at this stage of the season after a strong run?
Oh, well, I think that there's a natural tendency for every team at different times to have ebbs and flows of a season. If you go through every team in the competition, they've had that. Every team's had ebbs and flows. I mean, where the thing that obviously hit us on the weekend was just the drop in performance and standards that we had on the weekend. That's obviously the main thing from where we've been, and so the gap seems that much greater. So we're mindful of that, but we're confident that we can return to a level of competing that gives us the best possible chances in games, and part of that is to spend a couple of days with the players, freshen them up mentally, physically, to be able to attack Collingwood this week.
The contested possessions were -81, which was extraordinary. How did you address that specifically?
-81? Yeah, it was a big number.
That's a big number.
I'm not sure it was -81.
Wasn't it?
No, it was, yeah. But it was a big number. It was the first quarter was big. We wrestled back that after quarter time, but I think it was -25 or 26 in the first quarter, but it was essentially just when you're watching it, we just didn't win enough contests. It's as simple as that. We weren't up to standard in the contest and the competing part of it, which is for a long time has been really good for us, and it dropped to a standard on the weekend that wasn't acceptable for us.
Well, winning the first quarter battle will be number one against Collingwood.
We've talked about it, and I've said it after the game that we've got to start doing something about it now. We've tried different things, and we need to start doing something about it. That's from the pure performance perspective, that's what we need to do. We need to get off to a better start.
I guess it's taking a bigger picture perspective on the season for you guys at the moment. Like, how concerning is it? Are you concerned at the moment? I guess to have a heavy loss like that, but you're still on top of that.
Yeah, look, you balance everything out. You go through an enormous disappointment, obviously, the day after the game, and you let it wash through, and then you sort of come in yesterday like we did as coaches, and I speak to a couple of the senior players, and you just work through some of the solutions. And obviously any loss is a disappointing one, but particularly the way we lost on the weekend was extremely disappointing. But you need to get that out of your system pretty quickly and look towards some of the solutions of that, and part of it was giving ourselves a couple of days off. We look at our training, we look at personnel that will come back in again this week, some of the changes that we can make that helps really us attack Collingwood this week with some sort of level of certainty that we can compete, and we're confident in that because we've shown this year time and time again, week after week, that we can do it, and our players know that, and we know that as coaches, and we need to go out and do it and recover from the weekend physically, mentally, and get prepared for Collingwood.
With that in mind, and I guess one eye on the finals that are fast approaching, like how concerned are you by the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think, as I said, I think every team, I know this, every team goes through ebbs and flows. For the whole season, if you look at every team in the season, every team goes through it. Now, I'd rather it not happen at the end of the year. There's no question about that. But it does happen, and we understand that we've been a little bit below our best, and certainly on the weekend, well below our best. 3 weeks ago, we got beaten by Brisbane after being, in front at 2 minutes 30 to go, and a couple of players down, and we thought our effort was extreme. So, it wasn't that long ago that we weren't too bad in the competing sense. So that's something that we're mindful of, and we feel like we've got the tools now to help change the momentum for this week. But we also know that we've still got to go out there and do the job. We've still got to go out and execute, and that's the reality of it.
John, there are critics that you got ahead of yourself, that you got too swept up in defending Brownlow medal chances and things like that. What did you make of that talk in the wake of the loss?
Well, I'm confident that our playing group know that the team first is the reason why we've got to where we've got to this season, and we've played a lot of good footy this season, and individually played a lot of good footy, but that's always been on the back of outstanding team performance and working for and with each other. That's been really clear for the season. Now, the last 2 weeks, you open yourself up to criticism, whether that's right or wrong, that's for others to determine. I'm confident that our playing group certainly know that the best way to perform as a team and as individuals is to work for and with each other. So, that's what we're focusing on.
John, how big is the challenge, like as a coach at this point, for you to try and, I guess, stop players from getting too rattled and not maybe going into a mode where they start to lose a bit of confidence and start to second guess themselves?
Oh, I think that's part of coaching, and after coaching for a long time, there's all challenges come up. Every year there's a different challenge. From losing 6 in a row, coming off a grand final, to coming off grand final defeats, to a whole number of things, to various injuries that happen that are outside of your control. There's a whole range of things that happen as a coach. You've seen most things that happen over the journey, and so in the end you go back to what you know, and what we know is we've played some really good footy this year. We need to freshen our players up, which we're doing at the present time, and we know that our best is very good. I think that's been proven. So, you go back to what you know, and we're confident in our playing group and our staff to be able to return to that.
Does the history play on your mind statistically? Only one team has been defeated by 100 points or more and gone on to win the flag back in 1945. Does that come into it, or you just push it out?
No, surprising enough, no. No, it doesn't.
How confident are you, though, that you can overcome a loss of that magnitude and still win the premiership?
I want to get back to a level of competing this week. I mean, you guys that know me pretty well, I think that wouldn't be a surprise. And that's what you turn to, and that's part of long-time coaching and part of experience that we've got around us is to be able to return to what you know and what you know works, and getting back to that focus, which is, again, focusing on this week, what we need to do for this week. It's never been something more than that, and whether it's statistics or it's what the ifs, buts and maybes, what could happen in 10 weeks' time, it's not really relevant for us. We're mindful of the last couple of days, how we respond this week at training, how we train, get back to our processes, because ultimately our processes are what it's about. Getting those things right always ends up in the results. Now, that you mightn't see them immediately, but we're confident that if you get your processes right, that's the way to attack it.
Oh, sorry.
Cheers, Mel. Didn't like that answer, Mel. Dropped the World Cup.
Just on personnel, how is Joel Amati reviewed?
Yeah, we didn't play Joel on the weekend because of he and Lewis Melican would always planned to give a rest for the back end of the year. They've had enormous workload this year, the two of them. We played Lewis Melican last week because we needed to against a three-pronged tall attack that we had against the Doggies. So he unfortunately got injured, and so we considered what we were doing with Joel. Joel feels good, but we saw that his program, and we talked to our medical staff, and we didn't want to put him at risk given his workload and his history. So he should be fine this week. He should be ready to go. Dane Rampy, we expect to be able to come back in the team. We'll consider Lewis Melican. We'll have a chat to him and the medical staff about what he looks like. So we should get a couple back this week.
Is there likely to be a raft of changes after the weekend?
There might be 2 or 3 based upon those guys. But you've got to provide some solutions to players, but also provide some confidence to them that generally the playing group over the journey has been pretty good, and you've got to make sure that confidence levels that we have in them is also sustainable, because it is. They've proven it. They've been a very good team, and we certainly didn't play up to standard on the weekend. But we're really confident that our playing group know what to do to get back to that.
Couple more guys.
Is there a timeline for Justin McInerney? He's been so important for you this year.
He's probably 3 to 4 weeks away, so he's out of the brace now. So he's back doing some work. He's been fantastic with his rehab, but he's probably around about that 3 to 4 weeks away.